He has an interesting, a fascinating article that he penned for The Athletic called "An 18-Game NFL Regular Season Shouldn't Be Dismissed So Quickly." All right, Ross Tucker, I'm all ears. How are you, Russ?
Rich, I'm fantastic. Always good to talk with you.
Right back at
And
you.
to be clear, by the way, Rich, right from the start of this, as a fan and now a member of the media, I wouldn't be in favor of 18 games. I kind of like it the way it is now. If they were going to make any addition, I've said for a long time, I like the idea of a 17th game, an additional bye week, so you get 19 weeks of television inventory, and that 17th game would mean every team plays one neutral site game. But if I were still playing in the league, I would really want the NFLPA to strongly consider an 18th game and really an 18-game season. You look at the math behind it. I mean, I saw where the Wall Street Journal, Rich, said it would be an extra $2.5 billion. And right now, the players get 47% of that. I actually think that'll probably go up a little bit. But right now, 47% of that would be $1.18 billion a year, which if you take the 1,700 guys in the NFL or whatever, that's over $600,000 per player per year that would be injected in the salary cap. So I'm not saying they should do it. I'm just saying if I was, a young guy in the league and I know this would start in 2021, I would want them to seriously consider it.
Well, I mean, what about the idea, though, Ross, that D. Smith forwarded that a coal miner could make more money with more hours in the coal mine, but it's not maybe, I'm paraphrasing, the healthiest idea. I mean, there's no concern on that front?
Well, so first of all, it's tough to know when D says something if he really believes that or if he realizes that the 18-game season is something that the owners really, really want. And so he's just posturing and using that as a bargaining chip. I do think, and I understand the idea that, at some point enough is enough. I guess I look at it, though, Rich, and I mean, the Patriots play 18 or 19 games every year. And it doesn't seem to be bothering those guys that much. I mean, they still go to the Super Bowl the year after that and the year after that, even though they're playing 18 or 19 games every year. Meanwhile, 20 teams would only play 18, and that's it. So I just don't know that we have the data to say, well, 18 games, there are going to be so many more injuries, and it's going to be so much worse for the players and health and safety. Plus, the other thing is, I thought this was an interesting part of the Wall Street Journal article where it said that the NFLPA's internal calculations suggest that if you did that, the average career would go from 3.3 years to 2.8 years. But what I guess my argument from a health and safety standpoint would be, Rich, if you said, okay, Ross, I played 7 years, 6 that counted for my pension and stuff. If you said, okay, Ross, you're not going to be able to have 7 years. You're going to play 5 instead, but the money's the same, I would rather have done that. So it's 2 more games for those 5 years, but I have 2 years less of training camp and all those practices. I mean, people are talking about what 2 more games would mean. If you get the same money and you're playing a year or 2 less of football, what about that part of the health and safety, that you're getting the same money but playing a year or 2 less on your body?
Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. You're beginning to make sense, which is pissing me off, Ross. I don't like this idea at all. I don't like it at all.
Well, you also, Rich, get the money earlier, right? I mean, time value money. If you said, okay, Ross, you're going to get $3 million in your career. You can either play, 5 years and play 18 games or 7 years and play 16 games. I'd say 5 years and 18 games. That's 2 more years left to training camp, everything I mentioned. Plus, I'm getting the money earlier, right? So time value of money, I can invest that money earlier. Plus, okay, then I'm 26 and I'm able to go out and get into my next career or what have you, rather than 28. I mean, there's a lot of benefits. The negatives are those years would be a little bit tougher. I mean, by the end of the season, I know I was always hurting And I was always kind of happy, to be honest with you, when the season was over. I mean, did I want to make the playoffs? Yeah, but man, that feeling when that last game is over is really, really good. And at the time, if you asked me in December, hey, do you want to play 2 more games? I would say no. But if you said it's 2 more game checks, I think most of the rank and file, kind of like I was, would say, yeah, I'm not feeling great right now, but if you're going to give me 2 more game checks, let's do it.
Well, I mean, again, you're putting it in the box of just looking at it from the point of view of it wouldn't be so bad for the player, health and safety issue, that you're actually making more money, et cetera. But the practicality of it, and I think that's why you started your segment here, Ross Tucker, that you're saying as a fan you don't like it, because with 18 games, if you're going to do it, I would think that would come hand in hand with an expansion of the playoffs, eligible teams too. That you would now, with 2 extra weeks of the regular season, they wouldn't just keep it for the same number of playoff teams. Because if you're going to be already expanding it, you're going to be expanding. You want to expand the amount of playoff games as well. I mean, that would be the bonanza, the mother load, and the season would last deep into February. I don't think I like that at all. And I know that I'm talking against the revenue generators that are generating the revenue for my NFL Network paycheck. I just wouldn't like it, though. I don't think it would be good for the sport.
Yeah, my concern, Rich, would be how diluted the rosters might be by the time you get to the playoffs. Last year we actually had a pretty good year in terms of quarterback health.
Yeah.
But there's always those years where, like, the Cardinals make the playoffs, but, like, Ryan Finley's their quarterback or whatever. If you added 2 more games, the negative in my mind, the concern is you have to account probably for 1 more offensive lineman being down, and that might not sound like much, but if you get to the 7th or 8th offensive lineman for teams, it materially impacts things. I'm also averse to change naturally. I kind of like the cadence of the season, the weekend after Labor Day, done by New Year's. We have the playoffs, Super Bowl first Sunday in February. I like that. So that's why I say if they really, really are trying to get more money out of this, because, the players don't have that much to offer the owners to try to get concessions. Like, they're not going to strike. So to actually get more of the revenue, the players have to give up something. I think what they could give is they could give another game. I like the idea of, a 17th game. I told you, everybody plays a neutral site game. That way nobody's losing a home game, Rich, to play in London or Mexico City or Munich or wherever. I mean, I love the idea, being a Pennsylvania kid, of the Eagles and the Steelers, playing at Penn State, things like that. I just think they could generate a lot of buzz if every team played 1 neutral site game. That way you're getting 19 weeks of the TV money, but you're only asking the guys to play 1 more week, and no fan bases are actually losing a home game.
That's interesting, Ross. Let's just stroll down that rabbit hole real quick. What do you think the fan base split would be there in Happy Valley? What do you think it would be? Would it be literally half and half Steelers and Eagles, you think?
It would be amazing. Well, first of all, you know how it is. I mean, these college stadiums, you went to Michigan, they would sell that out in a heartbeat, and it would kind of be reminiscent, Rich, of the SEC championship game. So I've been on the sideline for the SEC championship game the last couple of years, and when it's half the crowd is Alabama and half the crowd is Georgia, Rich, I've been to a couple Super Bowls, but I'm telling you, the SEC championship game last year, that was the most electric atmosphere for a football game I've ever been in. I mean, there's just something to that, the tension when there's the fan bases like that. And I think it would be pretty split. Now, Philadelphia is a bigger city, and there are more Eagles fans, but man, the Steelers, just that brand of the success going back to the 70s, I think it would be pretty much 50-50. I think it would be incredible. And just the hype, that getting the whole state involved. And there's other states, obviously, that are like that. I mean, you could have the Bengals and the Browns play, at the Horseshoe in Ohio State. I mean, I think it would really – now, they always say, well, what about replay? And they have to be outfitted for an NFL. I mean, come on, dude. If you're able to play, big-time college football games at Penn State and Ohio State and Ann Arbor, I don't think it'd be that hard to put an NFL game in there.
Ross, I mean, they're already outfitted for replay at Ohio State, and it's already outfitted to benefit the Ohio State players there. I saw it personally firsthand when they were trying to measure a fourth down on an overtime a couple years ago. It's already so all the Ohio State players and the Browns and the Bengals would love to play at the Horseshoe for instant replay. Am I wrong to say that? Is this thing on, Brockman? Did that just go out?
I heard it. I heard it. Yeah, I heard it.
Hey, Ross, great ideas. Love them all. And congrats on the preseason games with the Eagles. I got Malcolm Jenkins in studio hour number 2. You'll be calling his preseason games this fall.
Oh, man, I'm so fired up about that. And that's great you have Malcolm. He is totally beloved in Philadelphia. Everything he's done for that team and that community on and off the field, he is extremely impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope he's already in our green room, so you heard that broadside at his university institution of learning. Thank you, Ross. Appreciate you calling into the show. Great piece.
Absolutely. Take care, Rich.
You got it. Radio.com, Athletic, as well as the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, where all podcasts can be downloaded and heard.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.